Here we are then everybody, we are back here for the Grand Prix for this Red Arrows F1 League, round 6 this week obviously. And we're back here with the with Brad Races lining up on pole position for this one, and what a turnaround one race makes. Obviously Super Striker extending the gap in the championship to 40 points after the sprint race, but the big news here, Super Striker starting down in P19 in a role reversal of the sprint race, but obviously much bigger consequences, much more on the line here in the Grand Prix itself. So Super Striker's going to have to do this one from pretty much the back of the pack here. So it's going to be a fascinating to see where he can get to here. Obviously I'm not sure about the points at the moment, because I'm not sure if the sprint race pays out the same number of points. Actually, you know what? I think the sprint race might pay out a completely different points total from real life. So, do you know what? Ignore everything I've said in regards to that. Yeah, the gap I think is probably going to be a bit more than 40. Anyway, right, so here we are, lining up on the grid. So Brad Races has got a big opportunity here to try and close the gap in the championship to Super Striker. His Mercedes teammate, these two. It's becoming a little bit like Hamilton and Rosberg between these two. So we're lining up on the grid, moments away from the start of the Hungarian Grand Prix here for the Red Arrows Formula 1 League. Lights coming on the head of the grid, we're moments away from the start. And it is lights out, we're underway. And looks like a decent start there on the left hand side from Pavlison. But Brad I think is going to hold on here into turn 1. And quite comfortably actually in the end, as we can see there. Youngie and Sniper C are side by side. Sniper C on the inside there, keeping ahead of his teammate for the time being, although Youngie has got a bit of a run here down towards turn 2, and he's going to make that move into third place up the inside. Sniper C is going to try and hang it around the outside, keeps a tight line there, forcing his teammate to run over the curb a little bit coming through turn 2. Sniper C holding on to third place, as we can see Clen and Angry Guns here side by side, and Clen's actually lost out there to Ricardo as a result of that momentary thing with going on there with Angry Guns. So Clen they're down to P10. We can see Archie's moved up into 12th place here ahead of Onzi. Onzi 13th place on this opening lap. Didn't have the qualifying he had in the sprint race. Jordan down in P14 as well. Didn't have the best qualifying there. But in the meantime, Super Striker has made up 3 places already here on this first lap. Has wasted no time at all in getting himself into the mid pack, and is now going to try and negotiate everybody else in between himself and Brad. You can be sure about that. But it's Brad out the front with a slender lead over Pavlison at the moment. Sniper C's gone for the hard tyres, is going for that long game here in this first stint. As we can see, Archie's moved ahead of Clen. As he gets around the outside, Clen gives him a bit of a tap there as they go through the penultimate corner, and Clen might fancy a move to try and come back at him here down the straight. As we can see in the foreground there, you've got Ricardo and Angry Guns running very close here as they come out the final corner. Down the straight they come. Ricardo here with the slipstream, I think is a little bit too far away to make a move into turn 1. Might think about it, looks to the outside here, just Ricardo, and it's going to try and go around the outside here of the McLaren as Angry Guns forces him around the long way, and Ricardo beautifully gets the move done around the outside of turn 1. So excellent stuff there from the Aston Martin driver up into 8th place. Archie still running ahead of Clen in that fight for P10 at the moment. And Super Striker is looking up the inside here of Few as they battle over 15th place, but Super Striker still unable to make that move for the time being. But Brad out the front here ahead of Pavlison, with Sniper C, Youngie and Valungis the top 5 here at this early stage here in the race. And Brad doing exactly what he needs to do on his opening couple of laps after that disastrous sprint race. He's got a lot to make up for, but he's doing everything he possibly can at this point in time, as Jay-Z's out of the race already. So a disastrous Grand Prix here for Jay-Z after not the best sprint race either, to be perfectly honest. I'm sure he'll be I'm sure he'll be very glad to see the back of Hungary for another season. But Brad, Pavlison, Sniper C, Valungis still the top 5 at the moment. Is Pavlison going to be close enough to make a move on Brad into turn 1? Gets a little bit closer there, but not quite close enough at this moment. As there are the rest of the pack all filing through turn 1. We can see Onzi almost running into the back of Corey there as they came into turn 1, but managed to avoid any major issues there. As Super Striker now looking to the outside of Few into turn 2. Both of these two were running up high in the first race, and they're both way down the pack here in the second one. But Super Striker has now got a beautiful run there around the outside of turn 3, and he's going to have the inside for 4. Now should have that one done, and Few's not giving this one up easily, you have to say, keeping it off the track there, but has to concede that one. And Super Striker now up into P15. Few's now going to watch out because Little Josh is attacking, but Little Josh not in a position to do anything there, and tucks in for the time being. But Super Striker now up 4 places here in his opening few laps of the race. Brad still out the front, keeping Pavlison at bay. Sniper C's keeping these guys very much on his radar, which is pretty impressive when you consider the fact that he's on the hard tyres. So he's doing a good job so far here in this one. ZX Tenor at the moment still fighting out with Shane in the fight for P6, as these guys are right on the back of the leaders still. In fact, from pretty much from first down all the way, in fact, the entire field is still in DRS range. This is absolutely incredible stuff here. The entire pack is in a DRS train here at the end of lap 3. Fantastic racing, as Brad's still leading coming into turn 1. There's all of your drivers filing through your shot there into turn 1, as we can see a move being made up here as we see Onzi there down the inside of Corey into 12th place, and that's job done there for the Alpine driver. Excellent momentary opening there for Onzi, which he's taken full advantage of. But Brad's still out the front here with a slender gap over Pavlison as they come up the hill towards turn 2, turn 4 once again, should I say. But very clean opening few laps here from the Red Arrows F1 League drivers. It's been exemplary showing from everybody. Couple of good moves, no dramas. As we can see, Richie's moved ahead of Little Josh up into 18th place, so that's a move for position which has been done there. I think the corner before the chicane, I don't know if Little Josh might have had a bit of a moment coming through the right hander of turn 5. See a move being shaped up here. Is that the Williams there in the background? Thank you. Was it Williams or was it an Alpine? It was somebody who was looking to make a move. Might have been Onzi attacking on the back of Glenn, because Onzi's looking very, very racy here on the back of the RB. Or it could have been Archie on the back of Gangry Guns. But I just saw a car. It was somebody looking to the inside as they came into that corner, which goes into the final sector. But nonetheless, looking like they're all holding position at the moment. Angry Guns having a look to the inside of Ricardo into turn 1. Not close enough at the moment. Oh, as we can see, there's Few looking to the inside of Super Striker. My goodness me, as there was a bit of contact there between the two of them going through turn 1, as now he's going to look to try and make a move here into turn 2. Is he going to try and stem on the inside? Oh my goodness me, that was never going to work there. That was a silly move there from Few. Would have been better off tucking in and taking his normal line through the corner, but Super Striker's lost out as well. Super Striker hasn't got away scot-free with this one. He's dropped behind Richie and Little Josh, so both of those two in the wars here. Super Striker's not going to be happy with that. Few there tried to go for a bit of a rash move up the inside of turn 2. They're down to 18th and 19th places respectively here. This is all playing into the hands of this man here, Brad, who's currently still got the lead out the front ahead of Pavlison. Sniper Cedo's got to be, I think, the danger here tonight, because being on those hard tyres, he's going to have the perfect strategic ace up his sleeve later on in the race. So Sniper C's the one with all the cards, I think, here tonight. But Brad is currently the one with the lead at this moment in time. Pavlison at threat of dropping out of DRS here. Sniper C will be seeing this and potentially sensing an opportunity here. So here we come out of the final corner. Does he have DRS, Pavlison? No, he doesn't. Sniper C is going to make the move very easily as well down the start finish straight. Up into second place here goes Sniper C, and that is job done way before we get to the corner, as in the meantime ZX Tenor has moved ahead of Volungis up into P5. In the background there, there's Angry Guns trying to go around the outside of Ricardo. Ricardo up, back up the inside, sends it late on the brakes there. Now the Williams there is going to be moving ahead of Archie, and up into 9th place there goes Archie ahead of Angry Guns. Glenn and Onzi waiting in the wings in the background, looking to try and get themselves into the top 10 as well here. So lots going on here in this one, but Ricardo leading a 5-car train here as they fight their way up to turn 4, but Ricardo's still running in P8 there ahead of Archie at the moment. Angry Guns, Glenn, Onzi still right there as well. In fact, it's more than a 5-car train. You've got so many cars in this fight, as Onzi was looking on the back of Glenn into the chicane, but not close enough just at the moment, and he's going to have to hold position for a little bit longer here at least. but the battle at the front is continuing to rage on because Sniper C has managed to dispatch the Red Bull of Pavlison and has wasted no time at all in pulling up onto the back of Brad in this fight for the lead of the race. Obviously Brad has held onto the lead since the opening couple of the laps, having got pole position in the qualifying session, but Sniper C started third place on the more durable hard tyres. Now will be starting to receive a bit of dividends here for his obviously his sacrifice in the opening couple of laps. It takes a while to get these hard tyres up to temperature, but once they do get up to temperature, they are a real force to be reckoned with. So at the moment, Sniper C is trying to close up onto the back of him. Youngie is trying to make the move here on Pavlison down towards turn 2. Is he going to get this one done around the outside? He's going to swoop around the outside. There is Youngie with good momentum. Pavlison's going to try and hold it here through turn 3. As he keeps it off the track there. Did he make the move off of the track there, Pavlison? I've got to say that was a little bit sketchy there from him, but he's back up the inside for turn 4, and Youngie not able to make that move for the time being as he has to wait a little bit longer there with ZX10 waiting in the background behind these guys. Ricardo's got a 3-second penalty for track limits, so that's going to really hurt him here in this race, being in such a tight-knit pack. As we see Onzi's moved ahead of Clen now up into 11th place. I think that was a move done on the exit of turn 5. It's a very, very difficult corner. It's a long right-hander, which really kills the left rear tyres. And basically, if you get your line even slightly wrong through that corner, you're going to be completely out of sync going into the chicane. So Onzi there's made the move ahead of Clen up into P11 nonetheless, as we see the rest of them coming into the final sector now. And Super Striker still running down in P18 after that collision with Few early on in the race going into turn 2. And Few's obviously rage quit since then, but Super Striker not going to be happy with that, I can be sure about that. As Ricardo into the pits here at the end of lap 7. Youngie's trying to make the move here on Pavlison as he's trying to go around the outside here of turn 1, and he's going to have the inside now for 2 DRS as well here for the Sauber, as Youngie there's up the inside and is going to make the move. No, Pavlison's still keeping it there with some good momentum there around the outside. Youngie forced to take a tight line there on the exit of turn 2. Through 3 we go, flat out up the hill towards 4, and Youngie is still not able to make the move here on the Red Bull driver. Pavlison doing a good defensive job so far in this one. It's been a bit aggressive at times, I have to say, but it's done the job pretty well, as ZX10 is waiting in the wings behind these guys as well, and we'll be looking to join that party at the soonest possible invitation. As Onzi here is close up onto the back of Angry Guns. Clen's still keeping with these guys as well, they're in 11th place. But this is a train here of cars from 9th place all the way down to 16th, 8 of them currently in this fight. And Angry Guns wants to be the leader of this train if he possibly can, coming into the final sector once again. Let's go to the leaders though, because Sniper C is very close to the back of Brad, and this could be a move for the lead of the race here. He's within 4 tenths over the line. Here he comes, rear wing open here for Sniper C. Looks to the outside now as Brad's going to try and force him around the long way here. Is he going to have the momentum to get back ahead of him, as Sniper C now with DRS down towards 2. Looks like Brad for the time being has got it covered, but Sniper C is knocking on the door at the moment as Angry Guns is trying to make the move here on Archie up into P8 as they're side by side. Angry Guns now with DRS down towards turn 2, and that is going to be job done, is it? No, because Archie's still keeping his momentum here around the outside. You actually get a lot more speed around the outside of turn 2 than you would think. And they're still side by side here, coming up the hill towards 4. Who's going to back out of this one? This is going to be tight here between these two. In the end, Angry Guns does get out of it, and Archie up into 8th place there. So has made that move stick beautifully there as Archie. Now Onzi will be looking to try and knock Angry Guns while he's down. Clen is still pretty much within DRS of these guys, so he'll be there to pick up the pieces if these guys trip over each other. But at the moment, Onzi's still trying to force the issue here on the back of Angry Guns, as little Josh has got a 3-second penalty here for track limits. But Onzi here trying to make some headway here after not the best of qualifying sessions. Had a very strong sprint race obviously, but he's got Archie and Angry Guns now very much in his crosshairs. We can see now Youngie's into the pits here at the end of lap 9. So first driver to get those medium tyres off in the first stint of the race, as Pavlison's got back ahead of ZX10 into third place down the inside. He's going to have DRS. No, in fact ZX10 has DRS, so it looked like ZX10 was trying to make the move. Pavlison outbraked him into turn 1, took too much into the corner, took too much speed, and couldn't hold on to the position. Now ZX10 keeping it around the outside here for turn 3, as they're still side by side, but Pavlison in the end has to back out, can't keep that one. Couldn't keep his foot in there, and it's now dropped down to 4th place here. Brad still out the front with the lead ahead of Sniper C, but Sniper C has been passing. They've been swapping positions over the last few laps, to be fair. These two have been running pretty close, but Sniper C at the moment still just waiting for another opportunity here to try and make this move. Pavlison is still running on the back of ZX10 at this moment in time. Shane is also pretty close to the battle for 3rd place as well, although I say 3rd place, obviously we've had some pit stops. Youngie's come into the pit, so these guys technically batting over at what's the net P4 at the moment. ZX10 is a net P4, but yeah, Sniper C still pretty close here to the back of Brad, but not quite close enough to make a move into turn 1. As Angry Guns has made the move there on Archie back up into 7th place, so again these guys swapping places. Onzi now into 9th place with the pit stops, having elevated a few of these guys up some places here. Youngie, Jordan and Lycorius now have all come into the pits. Super Striker came in a few laps ago, very low key. So Brad still leading the race on the medium tyres. He started the race on his medium tyres. Have got to be feeling the pace a little bit now though, with Sniper C breathing down his neck on those hard tyres, which will still be absolutely brand spanking. Well, not new, but certainly they'll be in a good state still. Brad's still sticking with it for the time being. As they come through the final corner, does anybody think of coming into the pits? Doesn't look like it at the moment from the others. Oh, Valungis potentially. No, Valungis is, no, he's coming in. So Valungis there into the pits here at the end of lap 12, or lap 11 should I say. So he'll be putting, I would have thought, the hard tyres on, maybe another stint on the mediums for the last stint. But Valungis now into the pits and is now off and away. So Brad here trying to knock on the door here once again of P1 after losing that position to Sniper C. Pavlison all over the back of Shane as well in this fight for 4th place. Always he gets a little bit of a twitch there to Pavlison. Didn't look confident at all there, so Shane now might start to pull away here, obviously having got that position up into 4th place. Clen's been passed by Little Josh, so Little Josh is up into P10. He's now trying to get ahead of Corey. Little Josh started on the hard tyres as well, so has got pace over these guys. The likes of Corey and obviously Archie not too far ahead up the road, so Little Josh could be a bit of a threat to these guys running in the top 10 once all is said and done. Onzi also is looking pretty strong here at the back of Angry Guns on the hard tyres compared to Angry Guns on the mediums. Brad now into the pits here at the end of lap 12. Is Pavlison coming in? No, Pavlison sticking with it. Angry Guns also sticking with it as well on the medium tyres. So is Archie, so is Corey. But Brad putting the hard tyres on there. The well, I suppose in the race lead, in the fight for the race win with Sniper C tonight. It's hard to see anyone else really getting into that fight, to be honest, at this stage. But I'd love to be proven wrong, but I think that the battle for the win is definitely between those two, Sniper C and Brad, at this point. As Archie is in the pits, so is Clen. And those two back out on the track now. So Sniper C has got a 5-second advantage over ZX10er. It's going to be going long into this race and put maybe one stopping, who knows. Certainly wouldn't be out of the question. I mean, we'll see with Pavlis, Angry Guns and Corey how far the mediums can go, and obviously then you maybe add a lap or two to that, because in the first stint the fuel loads are a lot higher and therefore tyre wear is considerably more excessive. But if we can get some data from those guys, we'll have an idea of when the hard runners have got to stay out till in order to do a one stop. Pavlison staying out, so he's going to be doing at least 14 laps, so is Angry Guns. What about Corey? Does Corey come in? No, Corey's staying out as well. So 3 medium runners still out there at the moment, as there's Angry Guns here, who's coming under heavy pressure from Onzi in towards turn 1. Onzi there can't make the move in the background. We've got 3 wide here between Richie, Youngie and Corey. Incredible stuff there. Youngie back down the inside of Richie, as Richie still yet to pit. Youngie there makes that move up into 8th place. Corey there was sitting up there for those two by the looks of it. Now he's got Super Striker looking down his inside into turn 2, and Super Striker has got nowhere to go. In the end gets the move done anyway up into P10, as Corey is getting passed by absolutely everybody here, and Brad has got around him as well. Crucially here, this is massive news. Super Striker coming in for his early pit stop at the end of lap 6 has got a 5 lap undercut and has got ahead of Brad on the track. Now it's not all doom and gloom obviously for Brad, because he's got 5 lap fresher tyres, but this is absolutely massive here. Super Striker must have put in an unbelievable stint on his out laps, because to be where he is in this race at the moment, he must have absolutely whacked that hammer down. And Brad here is going to try and make the move here on Super Striker into the final sector, but he's too far back there going down the hill. But I tell you what, Brad has done an absolutely phenomenal job here to get himself back into this race.
No, the right car racing.
As they come into the final corner here, we've got Youngie, who's Little Josh, into the pits here at the end of lap 14, and Brad here is going to make the move ahead of Super Striker into turn 1. Is this going to be job done? It is going to be job done there on those 5 lap fresher tyres. That was no contest there. But Super Striker's going to try and stick to the back of him, I'm sure, as Brad now is going to weave in and out of the traffic here. He's got the Haas here of Richie just in front of Richie, locks up there going into turn 2, as Super Striker taps his teammate in the rear there, and Brad there trying to find a way through, and Super Striker's really trying to play on his teammate's mind here as they come up the hill towards turn 4, and Brad's here going to try and get the move here around the outside of Richie. Richie playing an absolute nightmare here for Brad at this point. He's in a completely different strategy, but he's not allowing that to affect his decision making at all here, as Richie here holding his line and playing his rights to hold position to the letter of the law at the moment. He's still running in P7 ahead of the 2 Mercedes at the moment, who are both pitted already and have got a significant undercut on him at this stage. Richie is being the thorn in the side here for these two, as Valungis has got ahead of Youngie, because Youngie's made a mistake. So Youngie there dropping off in behind is Valungis and Jordan Hillier, and potentially Lycorius will be moving ahead as well here. So has Youngie got damage? I don't think so. I think maybe just a bit of an excursion, which will obviously drop him down a bit, as Pavlison now finally into the pits, getting those medium tyres off at the end of lap 15. Now Angry Guns is staying out, which suggests that the medium tyres could probably do about 17 laps on light fuel loads, maybe 18 laps. And if they can, as he gets passed by Onzi there, Onzi now up into 4th place, but if the medium tyres can do that sort of stint, you'd think that the hard tyre runners could definitely do a one stop here, as long as they get their tyres to, well, the next couple of laps really. So it's definitely on the cards here. I think a one stop is probably going to be the way to go for a lot of these drivers, although for a driver like Super Striker, who came in at the end of lap 8, I think he's got to be 2 stopping here. I'll be very surprised if Super Striker is 1 stopping. Also, Brad came in quite early as well. A lot of these drivers came in quite early, getting those medium tyres off, but I would say for the hard tyre runners, for the likes of Sniper C, ZX10 of Shane, Onzi, Richie, and obviously Angry Guns on the mediums as well, I reckon these guys have got to be looking at a 1 stopper here. You wouldn't get this far into the race if you weren't. Sniper C coming into the pits, maybe not a 1 stopper for him then. So he's now getting the hard tyres off and presumably the mediums on. 16 laps he's done on those. But for drivers who go to sort of like maybe lap 19, lap 20, you would be thinking it's got to be a 1 stopper for those guys. Sniper C in, Angry Guns also now coming in. So we'll have to do 19 laps on the hard tyres to get to the end, which is certainly doable, I have to say. So Angry Guns could be in the picture later on, once all these guys have made their stops. as little Josh here is just on the fastest lap of the race on fresh tyres, running down in P14 but on those medium tyres, the faster, less durable compound. So Angry Guns now back out into the race in P17 at the moment. Such a tight field here at the Red Arrows League. You can be running up the top, near the top of the pack halfway through the race, and then you come in for a scheduled pit stop and suddenly you're down in P17. It's incredibly competitive here in this league, I have to say, and it's some really quick drivers as well. It's an absolute pleasure to always commentate on these guys every Monday night. And we've still got ZX10 out the front, 2 seconds ahead of Shane at the moment. These two still yet to pit, likewise Onzi and Richie. Brad, your net race leader, who's managed to get a massive jump on Sniper C throughout this pit window. Sniper C has really not gone well. He's obviously came in a lot later, but I reckon Sniper C's got to be 2 stopping here. And to be honest, Brad probably is as well, because otherwise he'd have to do 22 laps on one set of hard tyres, which is maybe possible, but they wouldn't be in a very good shape by the end of it. So I reckon Brad's probably 2 stopping, but Sniper C nonetheless on these medium tyres is going to make the move to the inside of Alungis. Oh, was there debris or was that lag? I'm not quite sure. Sniper C down the inside, yeah, I think it's real. I think that was damage there. So Sniper C wide there going through turn 1, and might lose out here to Richie, but Richie on those worn out tyres not able to do anything there with the Salva, but Sniper C losing out to Valungis there. So Sniper C struggling a little bit here to make headway through this pack of cars. He's got the his rival for the race win 7 seconds up the road now, Brad, who's disappearing off into the distance. I'm sure he'll be feeling pretty confident at this stage. So Brad's looking very good for his money at this stage, has to be said. ZX10 still out the front, 2.5 seconds ahead of Shane. There's Brad running in 3rd place. Sniper C here is all over the back of Valungis as they come through the final corner, so he should be able to make this move on his fresher medium tyres this time around. Unless Valungis is feeling in a particularly devious mood. But Sniper C down the inside makes that move easily up into P5. In the background here, Youngie's up the inside as Jordan also following him through there. So Youngie and Jordan getting ahead of Richie up into 7th and 8th places without too much issue. Super Striker also following them through as well, as Richie there's trying to be passed by Lycorius keeping it all the way around him here for turn 3 and gets that move done there as well. So Lycorius now into P10. So Youngie, Jordan, Super Striker and Lycorius have all pitted, but they all came in quite early, so most of these guys, if not all, will be having to pit again. They're all 2 stoppers, I think, anyway, unless they are tiptoeing around towards the end. As Youngie there, just letting off a bit, and Jordan and Super Striker up into 7th and 8th places. Not quite sure what was going on there. As Jordan now weaving, trying to break the toe here on Super Striker. Pavlison running down in P14 has just got ahead of little Josh up into 14th place. So Pavlison's race has gone a bit by the wayside, it has to be said. Shane is coming into the pit cell to get the hard tyres off. Presumably a 1 stop for Shane, likewise Onzi as well. End lap 19, so 16 lap stint on the medium tyres coming up for those two. That's a pretty solid stint there from both of them. Definitely got to be pushing a 1 stop surely to go that far on the hard tyres. ZX10 is almost definitely going for a 1 stop here. 15 laps on the mediums shouldn't be too much of a tall order at all. So that one's got to be, I think, the priority here for ZX10, and he'll be coming in. I would have thought this lap he's got the net race leader on the back of him now. Obviously the pole sitter Brad. Gap between Brad and Sniper C 5.6 seconds. So Brad obviously is on older tyres. Sniper C will be closing that gap over the course of this stint. And both of these two, I believe, still have to pit again. So that'll be the fight for the win once we get towards the end. However, there are some guys on the hard tyres who can go to the end. Pavlison is one of them. So Pavlison could be a factor towards the end of this race. His race isn't completely done yet, as ZX10 now into the pits here at the end of lap 20. So obviously I don't want to write Pavlison off too early. You know, certainly has got a chance here in this one, being that he had to long out that stint on the medium tyres, lost a lot of time as a result, being on worn out tyres, but it could pay dividends at the end of the race. We'll have to keep our eye on him. But nonetheless, Brad reassumes the lead, and I tell you what, Brad's made a mistake somewhere. Either that, or Sniper C is gaining absolutely hand over fist on his fresh tyres, because the gap is down to 3.2. It was 5.6 when I looked literally about a moment ago. So Sniper C, although it's probably a bit unrepresentative that time game due to some sort of issue probably for Brad on that previous lap, I would have thought the general trend is that Sniper C is closing rapidly here on the race leader. This could be absolutely race on here in the battle for the win. And as I said, I believe that both of these two need to come in again. Sniper C, it would be a push to get those medium tyres to the end. It's possible. It's certainly not impossible, but it would be a really, really long stint. I think he came at the end of lap 15, so yeah, 20 laps on the mediums. Yeah, I don't think that's happening, personally. But Brad still has the lead by under 3 seconds, and the thing is, the amount that Sniper C's pushing those medium tyres as well, to be gaining the amount that he is, I think it's almost inconceivable. The idea that he'd be able to get these to the end, it would just be too much of a stretch, I think. As Super Striker's now ahead of Jordan in the battle for 4th place, as Jordan's got a few drivers behind him. Oh, it's not, Super Striker's coming into the pits. So maybe another set of medium tyres going on, or potentially a second stint on the hards, who knows. So Super Striker, Jordan and Little Josh all in the pits here at the end of lap 21. So it's a 14 lap stint for these guys. Little Josh has gone for, Super Striker's gone for the hard, so has Jordan, so has Little Josh. All three of them going for the harder, more durable compound for this final stint. Sniper C's got the gap down to 2.6 to Brad. It is still continuing to come down at quite a rate here. Youngie still keeping Archie at bay in the battle for 4th place. Clean's right there with these guys as well as Pavlison. Pavlison is, I would say, in the prime position here in terms of strategy. I'm pretty sure Pavlison can go to the end on these hard tyres, so he'll be wanting to get ahead of these guys as soon as he can. He won't want to be wasting any time here in traffic. He is currently in the net lead if Brad and Sniper C were to come in now as well, so he's within a stop range right now of Pavlison. He's within undercut range of the leaders. Sniper C's got the gap down to 1.8 between himself and Brad at this stage, so he's continuing to gain hand over fist at the moment. Pavlison will be wanting to get ahead of Clen as soon as he possibly can here. Youngie and Archie now into the pits, so Clen is just his only driver that he has to clear, but Clen had DRS because he was within a second of the car in front at the detection point, so Pavlison isn't going to get a free shot at him as they come into turn 1, and Clen's going to hold on to 4th place for the time being. I wonder if Clen's going to try and go to the end here. Will be a tall order. Pavlison a little bit too far away there going into turn 2, and Corey's retired from the race, so we've got a caution, but I don't think a safety car, so I think we're okay. Yeah, it looks like we're still going some pace here, so definitely not a VSC or a safety car. But Pavlison needs to get this one done quickly here on Clen, because he's currently losing time to Brad and Sniper C. Still within undercut at the moment. If Brad were to pit right now, Pavlison would have about a 5 or 6 second lead, but would obviously be on much older tyres compared to Brad. I would have thought Brad and Sniper C would be going for the mediums for their final stint. Sniper C's into the pits, so trying to cover off the threat of Pavlison here, give himself plenty of laps on fresh tyres to try and hunt him down. Sniper C's coming in, Brad staying out for the time being on those hard tyres which he put on 11 laps ago. Sniper C into the box. Verlungis moving up into 2nd place, probably still needs to pit again. Clen also needs to pit again, currently running in 3rd place. Pavlison now looking to make the move here on Clen into turn 1, and has that one done there up into 3rd place. So Pavlison now into clean air. His gap to Brad just under 15 seconds, or about 15 seconds actually, bang on. Has got slightly fresher tyres there than Brad, and obviously his tyres will probably be able to get to the end. Brad's are going to be shot to pieces towards the end of the race. But at the moment, Brad's got a 15-second gap over Pavlison, so there's a lot to overhaul here for Pavlison, I have to say. I wonder if Brad is going to try and get those tyres to the end, but I wouldn't have thought they can. I really wouldn't have thought they can. I think 20 laps is about the limit for a set of hard tyres around this circuit. For Pavlison, obviously, they only have to do 19 laps, so certainly on the cards to get to the end. Brad is now coming in. So in comes the Mercedes driver, who's been leading this race since the get-go. Obviously qualified on pole, had a disastrous sprint race, but the Grand Prix so far has gone pretty much bang on to plan, as Valungis also in, Pavlison staying out, and will take the lead of the race. But Brad will be not too far behind, and on 9 lap fresher tyres Brad will have in this final stint. And Pavlison's also got a penalty as well, which I hadn't mentioned. So Shane, ZX10er, these guys good to go to the end, one stopping as well. So the one stopper's currently running 1, 2 and 3, but they're going to have Brad breathing down the neck pretty soon, as Onzi here trying to get ahead of Brad. Sorry, not ahead of Brad, to Sniper C even. Sniper C's trying to hang it around the outside of Onzi through turn 3, and it's now moved up into P5 as Sniper C, so he can actually see Brad. He's been closing in bit by bit, obviously. He's managed to get another undercut here as Sniper C. Thing is, now he's got 1 lap older tyres than Brad. So Brad had covered him off there. Probably seen that on the timing board, or at least sensed that maybe Sniper C might be going for something. And Brad now right in front of what was his rival for the race win. These two could potentially have another rival for this race win, because Pavlison is out the front and can go to the end. Shane can also go to the end, so can ZX10er here. So this is now potentially a 5-car battle here for the win. But obviously Brad and Sniper C have got much fresher tyres than the top 3. So that will play into their hands massively. Pavlison's also, I think, made a mistake, because Shane and ZX10er are now right on the back of him here, as they come onto the start-finish straight here to complete lap 25. 10 laps left to go here for the Hungarian Grand Prix at the Red Arrows F1 League. Shane now looking to try and make the move into turn 1 on Pavlison. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside here. Can he complete this move? He's a little bit wide onto the curb there, but he gets the move done there with DRS as well up into the lead of the race, as now ZX10 is trying to get involved in this one if he can. Brad there still keeping ahead of Sniper C by the skin of his teeth there going into turn 2. Very tight between those two at the moment. Oh no, Pavlison's got crashed out of the race. Pavlison there, it looks like he's kept the car intact, but he's going to drop down the order here. He'll have to come into the pits as well, and that's Pavlison's hope for a podium pretty much out of the window there. It's left Shane in the lead by just over a second ahead of ZX10er. Brad and Sniper C on their fresh tyres are coming for ZX10er, and will be coming for Shane pretty soon, you would have thought. So Shane's got to hope now that ZX10er can play a peach of a defence here and try and hold up Brad and Sniper C for as long as possible. It's not an easy track to overtake here at Hungary, but on this F1 game it's a bit easier than it is in real life, I have to say. But let's see what happens now. It's going to be a 4-way battle for the lead pretty soon. Shane and ZX10 are on their medium tyres, which have been on for a few laps. Brad and Sniper C on their fresh hard tyres. It's going to be hard for these top two to keep these 3rd and 4th place drivers behind them, I have to say. Championship leader Super Striker currently running in P6 after starting down in 19th place. It's been a very solid comeback drive here from Super Striker. He's driven a very, very good race, it has to be said. He'll be, I'm sure, looking to try and get himself into the top 5 if he can, ahead of Onzi by the end of the race. But on slightly older tyres than Brad and Sniper C, he might struggle to get into the podium places. But who knows? Who knows at this point, honestly. But it's been a fantastic race here tonight for the Hungarian Grand Prix at the Red Arrows F1 League, and ZX10 creeping back into the DRS here on the back of the Ferrari of Shane. Pavlison's retired from the session there, no surprise, obviously, with that mistake there going through turn 2, which lost him his front wing and clearly damaged that he is not willing to have to fight back from here. But leaders here coming into the final sector. Saw Sniper C there having a little look to the inside of Brad, but just a little bit too far away there. As here they come into the final corner once again here. As Lycorius has picked up a 3-second penalty there. the track limits. Brad looking to the inside here of ZX Teller into turn 1. Is this going to be job done here? I think it might be. Yep, Brad's done that one up into P2. Now can try and negotiate the race leader. In fact, he's making 2 moves here in the space of a couple of 100 metres. Brad absolutely breezes past the Ferrari there, up into the lead. Sniper C now trying to make the move on ZX10 and has done that one. Actually, routine stuff there from Sniper C. ZX10 have made a mistake going through turn 1 and has dropped back behind these guys. So now Sniper C will look to try and attack on Shane for second place. But Brad there making absolutely light work of the drivers in front of him there. Got ahead of ZX Tenor, and then ZX Tenor made a mistake. Brad then got ahead of Shane into turn 2. Sniper C following Brad through ahead of ZX Tenor as Onzi's made a mistake here. Onzi's dropped down the order. I'm not sure what happened to him, but has he got damage on the car? I think he's missing a front right end plate there on that Alpine, so he's going to be limping round to the pits in a very short moment, and that's gone a disaster there for him, as Jordan's closing up onto the back of Richie for a top 5 spot here on his hard tyres, which are relatively fresh compared to Richie's. So Jordan could be on for a top 5 here. He has got a penalty, which will hurt him because he's got Youngie, Valungis and Super Striker not far behind. Super Striker, I think, was caught up in whatever happened there with Onzi, because Super Striker's also dropped down to 9th place. Has he got damage as well? Doesn't look like it. So Super Striker's able to continue on. Onzi surely coming into the pits, I would have thought. Yep, no surprise there. Into the pits he comes. So 7 laps to go here for this Hungarian Grand Prix here at the Red Arrows F1 League. Richie and Youngie side by side here as they come out of turn 1. And Youngie there moving up into P6 there ahead of the Haas car. Can now try and focus on Jordan right up ahead here on his hard tyres, which he's got that penalty, obviously that 3-second penalty as Jordan, whereas Youngie hasn't. Neither is Richie or Valungis or Super Striker, so those guys are going to be waiting in the wings. I'll be surprised if Jordan can keep ahead of these 3 before we get to the end of this race, or these 4 should I say actually. We've got 4 cars well within that 3-second catchment at the moment. Glenn also knocking on the door of a top 10 spot here. Archie currently running in P10, but Glenn is going to have much better tyres in these closing laps of the race, no doubt about it. So here we go, out of the final corner. Glenn gets a good exit. Archie there was all over the gaff there on the outside of the track, and Glenn there's going to breeze past here up into 10th place. Beautifully done there from him, as Jordan and Youngie are side by side here coming down towards turn 2. Who's going to come out on top in this one? Youngie there breezing around him into turn 2 and has that one done there into 5th place. And Jordan with his penalty needs to watch out, because Richie, Valungis and Super Striker are going to be right there waiting to pounce on him. His gap to Glenn currently more than enough to hold on for 9th place at this moment, as Onzi's now behind Angry Guns, or in fact he's just got ahead of him actually, although Angry Guns here moving ahead into turn 2. Onzi's got that one back again. Onzi putting some fresh soft tyres on for the final few laps of the race after the collision with Super Striker, or assume collision with Super Striker anyway, based on the fact they both dropped a few places at the same time. I could be wrong though. So leader Brad on to lap 31. Just 5 laps left to go here for this Hungarian Grand Prix at the Red Arrows F1 League. We had an exciting sprint race. Super Striker had a bit of a scare halfway through, but ended up winning the race and extending his championship gap. Brad had a bit of a nightmare and ended up losing loads of points, but so far so good here in the Grand Prix in the closing stages. Has got the lead and will take back a lot of the points that he lost in that sprint race, which I'm sure he'll be relieved about. ZX Tenor here on the back of Youngie in the fight for 4th place still, with Jordan sticking to the back of them. And Jordan might have a chance here of putting the gap to Richie and Super Striker. If Super Striker can't get ahead of Richie, certainly. So Jordan might have a chance here of getting P6, or maybe a position that's better than P9. Anyway. as this trio here battles over 4th place. Youngie, ZX10 and Jordan. There's Richie, Super Striker and Valungis in the background as well. 6 drivers separated by about 3 seconds at the moment in the closing stages of this race. Lycoris also closing up onto the back of Little Josh on 2-lap fresher tyres, so that could be one to watch. Maybe this time next lap, I reckon. That'll be a pretty close battle. Super Striker's made the move on Richie into turn 1, so he's now up into 7th place, well within the 3 seconds to Jordan. Super Striker will be looking for at least a P6 here. Is ZX10 going to be on Super Striker's radar? Obviously is ahead of Jordan, so Super Striker would have to dispatch the driver with the penalty, Jordan, before we can have a crack at P5. But that could be a potential target here for him, with just a few laps left to go in this race. It'll be damage limitation for Super Striker, with his championship rival currently out the front doing the business here in this Grand Prix. Gap currently 2 seconds between Brad and Sniper C. It's been pretty consistent over the course of this final stint, so I think unless Brad makes a mistake, he should have this one covered. But Sniper C's certainly not out of this. It's not done. It's certainly not over yet. But Jordan here keeping to the back of ZX10 as they come into the final corner once again. As we see the Ferrari with its rear wing wide open down towards turn 1 once again, but too far back there is... Oh my goodness me! He wasn't too far back. Well, he was, because he's overshot the corner. And ZX10 there getting a beautiful cutback and holding on to the position quite easily there. But Jordan went all in there. Dan Dare on the brakes there from Jordan Hillier. And it didn't quite work out there. ZX10 was alive to the situation, very much so. As Little Josh and Lycoris fighting out over 11th place, as Lycoris there on the inside, Little Josh trying to hang it around the outside here in turn 2, but he can't do it. Couldn't keep the grip there around the outside off of on the marbles, and Lycoris there up into 11th place without any dramas there. But ZX10 has got Jordan and Super Striker very close to him now, and I tell you what, Super Striker will be eyeing up a P5 here. Knows he doesn't have to pass Jordan, but he will have to pass ZX10 if he wants to finish ahead of him, because ZX10 hasn't got a penalty like Jordan has. So Super Striker will be looking to try and dispatch the Ferrari as quickly as possible so he can have a crack at the Alpine, who is just up the road. You can see him just up ahead of the Ferrari. But as Super Striker got the pace to make the move on Jordan, despite Jordan having DRS on the car in front of him. Here we go, Super Striker getting a bit closer here down towards turn 1. The same age tyres, so he's not going to have much better braking grip as they come through turn 1. Is he going to get a better exit here? Not particularly. Much better than Jordan's there. Super Striker's going to have to hold position here into turn 2. Valungis here coming under a bit of pressure here from Richie and Glenn, although Richie on very worn out medium tyres. Richie's been fantastic on the tyres tonight, I have to say. They've made the tyres last an age, and it's been pretty competitive on worn tyres at any given time over the course of the race. But currently running in between Valungis and Glenn at the moment. Glenn potentially chasing a P9, maybe even a P8 if he can gain a couple of places here in these last 2 laps of the race. But at the moment, ZX10 is still keeping Jordan and Super Striker at bay. Youngie here has closed right up onto the back of Shane in the fight for the podium places. Shane on those worn out medium tyres is going to be vulnerable here to the Sauber as they come through the final sector here. They'll be coming through the main straight in a second, that DRS zone, which is the prime overtaking spot, and Youngie here is going to be, I'm sure, chomping at the bit to try and move up into 3rd place if he possibly can. Here we come through the final corner here. This is going to be, I think, the last real opportunity here for Youngie to make this move for the podium places. He's got the slipstream, he's got the DRS, he pulls to the outside, and Shane, I think it's going to be powerless to defend this one as Youngie there round the outside. He goes into turn 1. Shane trying to send it back up the inside. Youngie though is going to have the DRS down towards turn 2 and gets a better exit out of turn 1 as well. Youngie there into 3rd place, and that is job done there on those fresher hard tyres, and beautifully done there as well as Super Striker here trying to make the move around the outside of Jordan into turn 2. Yeah, let's go trackside there as we can see him completing making that move. He's done it there as Super Striker, but he's lost time here to ZX Tenor as a result. Is he going to be able to try and chase ZX Tenor down for P5 on this final lap, or has he left it a little bit too late here in that potential chase for a P5 at the end of this race? As we see Valungis here closing up onto the back of these guys. Clen has moved ahead of Richie up into 9th place, so that's another few points there for Clen's in his well, obviously in his pursuit to try and gain a few places at the end of this race. But Brad coming through the final few corners here on the final lap of the race here at the Hungarian Grand Prix for the Rose F1 League. He's done a brilliant job here in this Grand Prix. The sprint race didn't go to plan at all, but he's bounced back brilliantly here, and Brad is going to take a very impressive win just ahead of Sniper C. Those two were heads and shoulders above everybody else here over the course of this race. The only driver who kept him under any threat was Pavlison, but Pavlison crashed out many laps from the end. Would have probably been third if it hadn't been for that. But Youngie over to complete the podium ahead of Shane, who comes over in P4. ZX Tenor and Super Striker to the line. It's ZX Tenor just holding on ahead of Super Striker 6th, with Valungis 7th, Clen over in 8th with the penalties, Richie 9th, with Jordan dropping down to P10 with the penalties. Lycorius over in 11th place ahead of Little Josh, who's just coming around the final corner here, or has actually finished the race already, to finish in P12. Archie over the line in 13th place here in the end. Angry Guns around the final corner in 14th. Onzi will be the last driver to finish the race there in 15th place, with Pavlison, Corey, Ricardo, Few and Jay-Z all not making it to the flag. 20 cars started the race, 15 finished. Not bad at all. Well done to the Red Arrows F1 League for putting on a great show. And Brad there taking a well-deserved win ahead of Sniper C. But that is that, everybody, for tonight. Thanks everybody to the drivers for watching this back. If you did enjoy, then it makes me very happy that you enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll see you next Monday as always. And yeah, cheers.